everybody, how's it going? I'm the Timeister and welcome back to the greater Timbukton region. In today's episode, guys, we're going to be starting to construct the port area of downtown Timbukton, so it's going to be a pretty exciting episode, starting something new, and it's going to span across multiple episodes, so this project alone will probably be a 3 or 4 part series, and it'll go on for a couple of episodes as we develop different parts of the port. So the main components of the port, there will be like 3, maybe 4 if I have room, 4 different elements, I guess, of the port area. So the first one, which we're building right now, as you may have guessed already, is a cruise ship port, or a cruise ship docking area, where, you know, obviously cruise ships comes to park and to bring on some passengers for cruises all around the world. So this again is based off of the cruise ship port in Halifax. I tried to base it a little bit on the same thing, whereas you have this huge long building. I think it serves both as a terminal and some sort of naval museum or something like that. Not really sure, but decided to, you know, sort of get inspiration from that and build something similar in Timbukton. So the buildings that I used for this, I think it's a community college and a high school that are these 2 buildings here. So I just smushed them together, and you know, they look quite interesting. You know, I mean, they pass as they'll pass as pretty much anything different than a high school and a community college. So anyways, I think they look pretty neat. So that's for the first part. We're gonna focus on this in probably the first quarter of the video, and we're going to move on to the next parts a little bit later, but we won't construct the entire port in this episode because, like I said, I mean, it's such a huge project. We're not even going to get started on half of the port in this episode. So the next thing we're going to work on after the cruise ship port will be a more industrious port. So we're going to be building a lot of train infrastructure and some dry docks and things like that. So the next part is mainly going to be focused on a container port, such as we have in the city of Burton. It'll be very similar to that over there, where, you know, you have like your containers and big cranes and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be basically the same thing that we have in Burton, but on a little bit of a bigger scale. Also, we're going to get started on a grain silo near the port, so that's going to be for another episode, although we're going to get started on it in this episode here. So for this episode, the main things that we are going to work on a little later as well are just building the basic infrastructure for the entire project. So, you know, placing down some seawalls and some main roads, and, you know, just setting ourselves up for, you know, the general look and feel of the area. So I just like to prepare everything just so I get a better idea how I want everything to look when it's done. So that's going to be where we spend most of our time in this episode. So a lot of it has to do with terraforming as well, because the area is, well, I mean, it's mostly flat, but obviously Timbukton is very rocky and jagged sort of landscape. Not very mountainous, but if you zoom in a lot, it's very jagged. And this is just a byproduct of using the custom map tool, and you know, creating your own custom maps, because basically this map was created using a satellite height map of someplace in Denmark. I forget the name now, but so basically this map was created using those height maps, and they're only so much accurate. I think they're accurate down to like 30 meters or something. So if you go any further zoomed in than 30 meters, you're going to start to get like some blockiness and stuff. So I mean, if you zoom in far enough, this entire map is very blocky and sort of jagged. So I spend a lot of time just fixing that and making everything nice and flat and level. So that's one of the biggest challenges I've faced in this port. So moving on from the cruise ship port, I'm just going to start to work a little bit on the container dock, whatever you want to call it, a little bit more. This right here, where this old warehouse building is, this is going to be one of the older parts of the port that has not been completely modernized. So, you know, the old building remains. We're going to put some train lines down in a little minute, And this sort of, it's not a dry dock. I don't know the correct term for it, but it's like a little inlet or whatever it's called. So this is going to be one of the oldest part of the port. So, we're going to make it a little bit more dirtier and grungier than the rest of it. Also, this part of the port will serve as a sort of private commercial area where, fishermen can come and repair their boats or work on their boats. And, you can just sort of rent the area just for a little bit, dock your boat there and service it. So that is basically what we're going to do for this part. And a little later in the series as well, probably in the final part of the port area, we're going to be building a naval base. So a few people have recommended that I do this, and I've been waiting to implement it ever since. I thought it was a great idea. So we're going to construct that a little later, probably in another 2 or 3 episodes, and it's going to be around this area that I'm working on right now, so a little bit more north of the port. So what I'm going to start doing now is constructing the grain silo in the seaport. So there's a lot of farming going on in and around Burton and Timbukton. So a lot of grain is being exported and imported for various reasons through the Port of Timbukton. I know it would probably make a little bit more sense to have this grain silo in Burton, as there's a lot more farming going on there, but I didn't really have the room and whatever. So because of all this export of grain that's happening, a lot of it is being stored while it's waiting to be shipped. So there is a large storage grain container silo right in the port, such as you see on your screen right now. And this again is based off of the huge granary that is near downtown Halifax. A lot of people may find it as an eyesore, but I personally think it's pretty cool. I know Quebec City has a huge granary downtown. That one is a little bit of a nuisance just because I find Quebec City is such a nice city, you know, with all the old French buildings and stuff. But in the background of a lot of the aerial pictures of Quebec, you always have like those huge granaries in the background. And in my opinion, it's kind of an eyesore. But in this case here, we're trying to make Timbukton as realistic as we possibly can. And of course, no city is perfect and beautiful and, up to modern standards, I guess, unless you like consider Dubai or something like that. But obviously Timbukton is a very old North American city, and we're making it look a little bit grungy. We're not going to shy away from constructing its bad sides. So we have this huge grain silo right across the port, and I think this looks really cool. It adds so much character, I guess, to the city. I mean, grain silos are pretty basic, I guess, and but this sort of thing is rarely built in city skylines in general, so I think it adds a little bit of uniqueness to the city. So essentially, the granary goes down to this processing building or whatever, and it's linked up to some train tracks where the grain can then be exported from the rail tracks. So that's the basic principle for that. And each of these little piers are going to be linked via rail. So a lot of this port is going to be connected with rail. It's probably not going to be functional in game wise, but it's just there for looks, and I think it looks pretty cool. So I hope you guys start to get a general idea of how the entire port is going to look like, and it's possibly going to change a lot as well as I get new ideas and I try to implement new things. And you never know, there might be some new props and things that are released on the workshop, so everything could change, but at least you have a basic idea on the shape of the entire project. So yeah, it's a pretty extensive project, and it's probably going to extend a little bit out of the actual port area, so there's going to be some more industries and stuff coming. So it's a pretty huge project. Now, moving back to the seaport, or the cruise ship port, I'm going to start to detail that area a little bit now that I'm happy with the way that the port is shaping up and everything is being placed. So now I'm going to start to focus on the minute details and place everything together. So I started with this empty space here right near downtown, and this actually took me like an hour of just trying different things when I came upon this building right here, which is actually a vanilla building. And just by chance I plopped it down, and I just had like a light bulb moment where I was like, oh, this is a perfect place for this building, because it has like that multi-story look where you have like the lower part where you have like doors and garage doors and stuff, and you have the upper part which is right on the main road right on top. So I think this is a pretty cool implementation of a vanilla building right here. It looks really neat, especially like you have that lower part, that height difference, right? So it fits perfectly in this area. And I plopped it down there, and I was just like, okay, that building is not moving. We're going to keep it there. Now moving on, we're going to work on a little plaza right here near downtown, and this plaza will host various festivals and parties and all sorts of different stuff in the summer months in Timbukton. So there's a permanent stage that's there, for a lot of outdoor concerts and stuff. And the building that is right by the stage is a convention center. It's the main convention center for the city. It obviously takes up a lot of this lot it hosts various amounts of events and things like that. So I just thought that this was a perfect location for it, and I thought it was pretty cool to build this, more modern looking park right downtown. Now, before we go any further, I just want to talk about the last episode where I wanted you guys to choose a name for the hockey arena that we built last episode, as well as the hockey team, which will be home to that center. So I just want to thank you guys so much for all the suggestions that you've sent me. I've received tons and tons of names, and I was pretty torn between a few of them, but unfortunately I just had to choose one, and let's go over that right now. So the name that I chosen comes from a subscriber called iGamerAlex, and he thought that we should name the arena the Carrie Birdwell Center of Timbukton, or simply the Birdwell Center. And what's really cool about his suggestion, and which sort of enticed me to choose his name, was that he decided to include a nice backstory behind it as well. So I'm just going to simply go over that for just a minute. So Carrie Birdwell was a widely renowned mayor of Timbukton from 1961 to 1969, and he was responsible for a lot of the growth and economic wealth of the city way back in the 60s. It was a boom town back then, and he was highly sought after because he was always participating in various city activities, and he was participating in a lot of volunteer work. So he was a very friendly person. Almost everyone in town knew him, and he was very liked. Now, unfortunately, he died in 1975 after suffering a fatal heart attack. So shortly after his death in 1980, the construction of the center started and opened in 1985 with the name the Carrie Birdwell Center to commemorate, his patronage to the city. So I just thought that was a really cool touch, the fact that he came up with that story and explained it very well. So congrats on that, iGamerAlex. And by the way, I'm going to shout out your channel because you have a few pretty cool City Skylines videos as well, and just keep doing your thing. And it's always fun to have some new players in the City Skylines scene. But before I go any further than that, I just want to go over another suggestion that I thought was really good, and I'm going to take part of that suggestion and implement it into Timbukton. So J-Man17 Gaming suggested that we should name the arena the Bright Shield Place, and he also explained why it should be named this way. So Bright Shield Insurance owns the naming rights and is headquartered right next to the arena. So this high-rise building that is connected to the arena is the headquarters for Bright Shield Insurance. And so I mean, that just goes to show, like, if you guys have any suggestions for the city, or you simply want to create any sort of backstory or name a building or anything like that, drop a suggestion, and I'm more than willing to implement that into the city. So congratulations to iGamerAlex and J-Man17 Gaming for your suggestions. And as for the team name, this goes to quite a few of you guys actually who have suggested the same thing, and we're gonna go for the Timbukton Timberwolves. So that is the official name for the hockey team. I've probably gotten like 10 suggestions for the same thing, and it just so happens that that was my favorite suggestion as well. So that is going to be the name of the hockey team. So thank you guys so much again for leaving all those great suggestions, and there will be some polls just like that one in the near future as well. So that is pretty much it for this episode, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I really hope that you're excited to see what's going to happen with the port. And as of releasing this video, I have made a ton of progress on it, and I probably have enough footage to create another 3 or 4 episodes on the port alone. So like I said, it's a pretty extensive project. I'm really excited for it, and yeah, so we're just finishing up the cruise ship port here, adding a bunch of detail and all sorts of stuff. And in the future, I'm going to be adding a little bit more detail as well, so we'll get into that a little later. So anyways, guys, with all that being said, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the channel for much more content on the way. And until the next episode, guys, please take care.